Hi, so this is my final course project video on summarizing my findings. So just for a little background, my study was on the relationship of these two variables, focusing on how stress can have an effect on academic performance. And researching for this study, I found multiple peer-reviewed articles that showed how stress can affect academic performance, positive or negative. Positive can be, for example, a healthy amount of stress that pushes a student to stay on top of their work, or negatively, where a student can have a bad GPA, poor concentration, and just a lot of difficulty in their studies from being so consumed with stress. So in the Qualtrics study, I did have my 3 questions, and here's what they were. Number 1, from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how much does your stress impact your focus on school? Number 2, have you found ways to cope with stress in your school performance? That was multiple choice, yes or no. And 3, do you feel like you are achieving academic success? Multiple choice, yes or no. So in my first analysis, it was a correlation, a chi-square test. It was between the first variable, do you feel like you are achieving academic success? And have you found ways to cope with stress in your school performance? In the participants in this study, there was no effect between these two variables. My significance was a 0.178, which means that was out of the range with the 0.05. I also chose a graph to show this, a bar chart. So on the x-axis, it says, have you found ways to cope with stress in your school performance? And another corner variable is, do you feel like you are achieving academic success? So for the people who have found ways to cope with stress in their school performance, they did feel like they were achieving academic success on the left bar. However, for people who didn't feel like they had ways to cope with stress in their school performance, they also felt like they were achieving academic success. So it didn't show a major statistical significance effect between having ways to cope with stress affecting, do you feel like you are achieving academic success? In my second analysis, it was also a correlation, but not a chi-square test this time. It was between the first variable from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how much does your stress impact your focus on school? And the second one was, do you usually meet your deadlines? So my significance was 0.631. So once again, that is at a range of the 0.05, so not showing that there is a statistical correlation between these two. I also chose another bar chart to display this. So the x-axis says from 1 to 5, 5 being the highest, how much does stress impact your focus on school? In the y-axis, do you usually meet your deadlines? And once again, it didn't show effect from one up to the other. For people who chose number 3, a middle ground for stress impacting their focus on school, they did say no, they don't meet their deadlines. However, for the number 4 to 5, for someone who does have stress really impacting their focus on school, they still chose yes, they can meet their deadlines. So it still didn't show a statistical effect from one to the other. So those are the summary of my 2 findings.